I have here a table where I have a column of debitors that I need to do a lookup in SAP to grab related information. And these debitors have been split into 3 groupings, and I need to do 3 lookups, one where I look up the entire debitor column, one where I only look at the ones with group 1, and the ones where I look at those that aren't in group 1. So I need to do 3 lookups, and what I want is to have a table that has one column with all debitors, one column with only debitors in group 1, and one with all debitors that aren't group 1. And I want them next to each other. I could make 3 queries and then paste them in Excel next to each other, but I don't want to do that. I'd rather have it in one singular table instead of having empty columns between them. And I'm going to add a table buffer as a step because I'm going to refer to this table 3 times. So now that gets loaded into memory, which will make it faster, or most likely make it faster. And I just need to reference it 3 times because I only want, I want all, and I don't want the grouping. Now I need to use grouping to say I only want one, and now I can remove the grouping. And then I can just duplicate that again and say not one. But then instead of filtering on 1, I want to say not equal to 1. And then this is fine. This is everything I need to do my work. And now I need to combine the 3. So to start off with, I'll show what isn't going to work, what I had imagined might have worked. Which means first I want to create a new query, which is just a single blank row, which is just table.fromRecords. I'm passing in a list of records where my record is just a column named blank with no value in it. And this is because I can add a new column which relates, or rather grabs my entire table. So I can say custom, make a new one where I grab the data from all the table. And now I have that entire table in here. And I can do the same thing with 1 and not 1. But of course, because there's a space in not 1, I need to use the hashtag quotation marks. So this is exactly what I wanted, except I want these to be expanded. And what I had hoped what I would be able to do is to just expand the first one, and then I can expand the second one and expand the next one. But as you can see right now, I have 56 rows. And what's going to happen is that I get more rows, which isn't what I wanted. Because as you will see here, what actually happens is that for each row in my second table, for all of these rows, I'm going to create a new row where I grab the first value from the second table and assign that to the first value in this table. And then I keep going second value first, third first, fourth first, and then it keeps going until it starts over. Which is not what I wanted. This would be the Cartesian product, which is just multiplying the number of rows in each table with one another, which is not what I want. So that method won't work. But what will work is to do 2 different things. I can do a merge, and I can do a calculated column where I do a lookup. And I'll show merge and index first, but I need to add an index column in order to use indexing. Because right now these 3 aren't related in any way. Well, they are related through the all, because every single row can be found in here, can also be found in here. But I don't want to have a table where I have a row here and a row here, and then empty rows, and then row, empty rows. I want to be able to just click the first cell and then click Control Shift down to copy all values and then copy that. So I can't just do a basic merge on the debitor, even though these are related. So I'll just add an index column from 0. And that's because when I do the calculated column, even though it says row 1 here, it's actually row 0 index based. So that will make it a bit easier. And at that point I can do exactly what I want, which is to do a join. And I'm going to start with the all because I know that this will always have the most rows because this is the unfiltered version. I can never have a situation where there are more rows in these 2. And I'm going to use that. So I need to merge, not append, and I want to do that as new. And I'm doing the all table again first, and then saying 1 based on the index, and left outer is fine because I want all from first and matching from second. And again, I know that it starts at index 0 and then goes down. So I'll have all my empty rows in the bottom, which you will see in a few seconds. So right now I can just expand this and I don't need the index, I only need the debitor. And then I can change the name up here to say 1. And as you can see, I have a lot of empty rows, which is just the ones that aren't there in my other table, in my one table. So I have 22 rows, which means that on the 23rd, it just says null from the bottom, which is fine. That's just empty. And then I can do that again, merge, again with index on not 1 on index, and call that. And then I can expand that and say I want that to be debitor also, and I want that to be called not 1. And then I can just delete the index. And that was exactly what I needed. Now I have my first column, which has everything I need. My second column, where I can again just click in the first cell and click Ctrl-Shift down to go down here and copy that. And also click here and Ctrl-Shift down to copy down here. And that was everything I needed from the first solution, which is very easy. And this is the method I'd suggest using because it uses database magic to be very fast because of the merging. And I can't explain why it's fast because I don't know that. But the other method is to referring to the all table and say that would be the calculated column. And here I'll be doing a lookup using the index, which ends up having the same outcome, but I think this should be slower because I'm scanning tables. And this is a situation where I think wrapping all my tables in table.buffer would be faster because I want to load it into memory. So I should do that because I don't want to scan the actual table. I want to scan a copy of the table that has been stored in memory, because at least in VBA you always want to use arrays for speed. So that is fine. And then here I can say I still have my index because I'm just referring to the all table. And then what I need to do, and this gets a bit tricky, but what I want to do, I think I've shown this before. I want to use a lookup into the one table. And actually I don't need the hashtag quotation marks. I want to do a lookup into the one table. And I want to look into my column called debitor, which is so nice that it even tells me that. And the row I want to go into is then in curly brackets. And that is my index column within my current table. So I'm saying go into the one table, go into the debitor column, find me the corresponding value in the row index. So row 0, row 1, row 2, and so on. And this is going to be fine. And then there'll be a mistake, which I will solve and also explain. But this is fine. Yeah, it's going to be a little mad because it can't actually find, there aren't enough elements in the numeration, which means it's trying to go in and find value 22 in 1, but that doesn't exist, which gives me an error. And that's why I'd recommend not using this method, because if you have 85,000 rows, which I did in my work task, and I only have 15,000 in the one table, I'm still going to look through these 70,000 rows, which is a waste. So I can solve this error by simply saying try to do this. And if that fails, I otherwise want to do nothing. I just want to type in null. It's still going to do the operation. It's still going to try to look into the table at this position. And that's just going to return an error. And you'll see here when you fix these errors, you're still going to get this bar where it's mad, but you can just click to another table or another step and go back and it's solved. And then at this point, I also need to remember to change the name of the column. So that was 1. And I can just copy paste this code because I know that table not 1 follows the same syntax. I just need to remember the hashtag quotation mark. And then I also need to change that to add custom. And it is not table 1, it is table not 1. And I want to say try to go into hashtag quotation mark not 1, debitor column, index position, otherwise null. And this is the exact same situation. So in this case, where I only have 56 rows, it's not that bad. But again, in my work task, I had 85,000 rows, and this method should be slower, even if I load them in a table buffer. And you don't have to do that when you do the merge and index. So I would definitely use this method. And then because I'm in Power BI, I can't exactly load it the way I would in Excel, but you would just say close and load and then put that in Excel somewhere. And that is everything. Yep.